So this video is just going to take us through what is the required knowledge for the Year 10 Civics exam in 2022, and also the points of the content which will be relevant in your revision as well. So first off, it's going to take a look at the structure of the exam, one of 4 humanities exams that you'll be sitting in semester 2. So the structure of the paper itself, there are 2 sections. There's going to be a short answer section, and there'll also be a source analysis section. The short answer is going to be 5 marks total. And there are 2 questions that you'll need to answer in the short answer section. So in this section, you'll be relying on knowledge that you're bringing into the exam. There'll be no source material that's relevant to answering these questions. You just have to rely on the revision that you've done previously. The source analysis section, you will get a text to respond to. And this will be the form of a news article. So the news article will talk about one aspect of the source material or the content that we've gone through in each of your rotations, and you'll need to answer 3 different questions. So like a part A, part B, part C. There are three questions to answer for a total of 10 marks. So looking at the exam overall, the entire exam is about 20 minutes long. The civics portion of it anyway. So in your 20 minutes, it is suggested that you spend 8 minutes in the short answer section and 12 minutes in the source analysis. But, depending on individual preference, this might be longer and shorter as well. Only other things that you need to be aware of in the source analysis, the source analysis, it'd be really important that you are referring back to source material. And you're using that source material to actually answer your questions as well. So let's have a look at the potentially examinable or accessible content. So we've got 3 sort of blocks that are going to be assessed in this exam. The first being the Constitution and Australia's High Court. So within this part of the syllabus, the content, we're looking at what the High Court's role is in interpreting the Constitution, what the purpose of the Constitution is. Looking at, resolving disputes between state and federal governments, and also times in which the Constitution has had to be interpreted. Example here, Tasmanian dams, which was looked at briefly as a time which a dispute between state and federal government has been required. And a really useful practice question for you here would be this question, using an example, and that's a pretty good hint. I think, it's very good to have at least 3 different examples of High Court cases, and you can actually access that in 16.3. You remember 16.3 of the text has examples of times the High Court has needed to interpret the Constitution. So what I'd recommend is, maybe doing this question a couple of times over and aiming to get those 3 different examples in. The second section, the examinable content, Australia in the world. So looking at the UN, the role of the UN, how Australia fits in, and also the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So a couple of different things to consider here. Looking at why the UN was created, the importance of the UN, and why membership is beneficial. Then we've also got this agreement on the Declaration of Human Rights. You remember we went through and why that was an important milestone in terms of the progression of international law and human rights overall. So you can refer back to chapter 17.1 in the text for that. Finally, We've got international law in us, so other key treaties. We've gone through some trade treaties. We did some. We had a look at the Refugee Convention briefly, and also had to talk about racial discrimination. You're probably going to be asked a question about one of those, two of those, and there are some pretty good practice questions here that you can sort of reinforce your knowledge. And that information again can be found in 17.2. So in terms of framing your revision then, I'd say the key parts to focus, there are some resources, plenty of resources that you can go to. First looking at, the relevant chapters of the textbook. So 16.3, 16.3, 17.1, and 17.2. You can see they're all written on the table there. Really good starting point. You can go back and have a look at PowerPoints or notes that you've taken from sector. And finally, you can also make use of the practice questions, which are on the table here as well. If you're looking for anything additional, there are all these revision MyEds that I've enrolled everyone in, and you can certainly make use of those as well. If you want to do some of the practice questions and you want some feedback, please email me. And I'll do my best to get some timely feedback for you. The best way for me to do that is if you've handwritten your responses and then you scan them into a PDF form, and then I can provide feedback in quite a timely manner for you as well. So that essentially goes through everything that is in the Civics exam. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out in an email or just come and see me. Thanks.